Hello and welcome to AWS On Air. I'm Steve Roberts, a developer advocate for .NET and PowerShell at AWS, and I'm joined today by my co-host Marie. Marie, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Marie. I work for AWS in the Partner Solutions Architect space. And Steve, we have some really special guests with us today. Who are we learning from today?
Yeah, so we've been joined by Claire and Pradeep, who are here to talk about unified data preparation and model training with Amazon SageMaker. So guys, please introduce yourselves to our viewers and tell them a little bit about what you do at AWS.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Claire O'Brien. I'm a senior product manager on the AI platforms team. Specifically, I work on Data Wrangler. So Data Wrangler is a low-code data preparation tool that I'll tell you a little bit more about after Pradeep introduces himself.
Hi everyone, this is Pradeep Reddy. I am the senior product manager for SageMaker AutoML suite of products, which includes Autopilot as well as AMT automatic model tuning.
Cool. All right. So as I mentioned, we're here to talk about unified data prep with Data Wrangler and Autopilot. But as somebody who doesn't really know a lot about machine learning, can we kind of take a little bit of a step back? Because we may have viewers who don't even know what SageMaker is, and just explain what is SageMaker, what is Data Wrangler and Autopilot, and why did we create those tools?
Claire, you want to take that question?
Yeah, so happy to take that. I can start off with a little bit of a deeper dive on Data Wrangler and then hand it over to Pradeep. So typically machine learning practitioners, they're tediously iterating on feature engineering, choice of algorithms, and other aspects of ML, searching for the optimal models that generalize well on real world data and deliver the desired results for their business. But because speed in business is disproportionately matters, the fact that this is a very iterative and very tedious process often leads to project delays and lost business opportunities. So starting with the data preparation part of that, SageMaker Data Wrangler reduces the time it takes to aggregate and prepare data for machine learning from weeks to minutes. So it is a low-code visual data preparation tool within SageMaker Studio, specifically built for data preparation for machine learning. Data preparation, as I said, has always been considered tedious and resource intensive, specifically for machine learning, because data in its raw state and in its natural form is just not ready for machine learning. Forbes actually did a study back in 2016 that showed about 80% of machine learning engineer teams' time is actually spent preparing the data. So a typical customer coming to Data Wrangler is a data scientist. They're looking to prepare their data for a machine learning model. And with Data Wrangler, they can use a visual low-code interface to perform common repeatable tasks, exploratory data analysis, and actually prepare their data without having to keep track of everything, because it's all yielded through this visual low-code interface.
That's awesome, Claire. And you said a lot of really interesting things that maybe not all of our viewers know. So can you kind of walk us through what low code is and why you guys chose that direction?
Yeah, happy to take that. So that is really our mission, is to keep it low code so that data scientists don't need to consistently and repeatedly write the same code to perform the same common applications and transformations to their data. So with Data Wrangler, they can do it in a point-and-click interface, actually saving the time, not just between advanced data scientists, might actually be very familiar and be very, very adept at writing code, but actually identifying the code, updating it to the specific data source, and then making it that code that they are familiar with applicable to the specific machine learning transformation that they want to do. That all requires consistent iteration on what they've done before. And additionally, many data scientists, while they're very familiar with how to execute the transformation and the data preparation, it's actually upstream of that where they need to apply the thinking to what they're going to do to the data. So that's where Data Wrangler actually really shines. We have tools such as Data Insights Report, where with a click of a button, a data scientist within Data Wrangler can actually see summary statistics of their data. They also get notifications about if there are issues with bias in their data, for example, or with target leakage in their data. And that directionally points them to what they might want to perform on their data. So that is really helps them leap over all that kind of analysis and accelerates thinking about what transformations they want to perform on their data.
Right. So we have Data Wrangler then that's being used to prepare and clean this data ready for use. Where does Autopilot come into the picture? What does that do?
Yeah, let me step back a little and add a little bit of color to how the journey starts, right? So if you understand, typical ML practitioners start by understanding the business problem that they're trying to solve. And then they go about acquiring the data that explains the business problem or the domain that they're trying to address. And beyond the data acquisition, they're really wrangling the data, trying to actually refine the raw data and create features that are amenable for machine learning. So that's where data wrangling comes into play. Like Claire alluded to, it kind of makes them its purpose-built tool to make these practitioners productive. And essentially, it's a point-and-click tool which enables this data preparation, which typically is a very iterative and tedious process. It can take weeks and weeks to actually curate data. And like Claire said, it's 80% of the machine learning lifecycle, the time it takes gets spent on data wrangling itself. So Data Wrangler reduces the time it takes from weeks to minutes for curating your data. Once you curate your data, you are getting into this next phase of machine learning, which is the rapid experimentation. So there is no universal learning algorithm. So it all depends on your data. Depending on your data, different algorithms perform better. So it's important to experiment iteratively and rapidly to find that best model that fits your data. So that's where Autopilot comes into play.
Okay.
So this is an extremely iterative process as well. It is very manual. Typically, practitioners experiment like many trials of different variations of algorithms, and they catalog their experiments like a lab book in high school science, and essentially go back to that lab book and pick the best model. So what Autopilot does is it automates this process of experimentation. It runs the trials on behalf of the practitioner, surveying different algorithms, trying to find the best algorithm that fits their data. So it not only does that, it also actually tunes these the best model that it finds automatically behind the scenes using the SageMaker automatic model tuner. And essentially, it gives you the best version of the best tuned version of the model that fits the data. So essentially, if you put these two tools together, these two critical phases are really made productive for data scientists. It reduces the project delays, and it really accelerates the time to value for machine learning.
Cool. No, that's great, and that was, you kind of answered my next question of what was the problem and how did we solve it. But it sounds like this launch is saving a lot of time and resources, and then reducing the churn that these practitioners feel in this low code space. So that's awesome. Sure. Steve, I think I heard that there might be a demo.
I heard rumors that there could be a demo, and I'm quite excited to see this. So if you're ready, let's
absolutely
take it away.
All right. So like I said, it all starts with the business understanding and then data acquisition. So once you acquire your data, you're now ready to wrangle. So you can come into the SageMaker Studio and start your data wrangler flow from here. So this is the launcher. So I click the new data flow. And now I have this interface where I can actually select my data. So my data is sourced in S3. Mm-hmm. So I go into the S3 and select the data. So I can preview the data right here in the Data Wrangler UI. Since
that was a CSV file you imported, right?
Correct. This is a CSV file. This actually is a real data set which is used in the clinical decision support. It's been used across a lot of research studies. This actually explains the the diabetes. There is a indigenous group called Pima Indians who are found in Mexico and parts of Arizona. So these indigenous groups are susceptible for diabetes. So there's actually this particular data set is used in clinical decision support, trying to identify susceptibility for diabetes in a clinical setting. So this is the data set that I'm going to use, and I will disable the sampling here, and I'll bring all the data into Data Wrangler. So once I bring all the data into the Data Wrangler, I can preview the data, go back to the data flow. So now I really want to actually look at this data, analyze this data. So all it takes is I click the plus icon here and get the data insights. So I pick the target column, which is the outcome, which represents whether the patient that was observed had a positive diabetes outcome or a negative. And then I choose my problem type and I hit create. This actually analyzes the data and gives me summary statistics and little more details about the data itself. So if you look at the summary statistics, I'm actually looking at the number of features, trying to understand the cardinality, trying to understand if there are any duplicate rows, any missing rows here. There's no missing rows. I'm pretty happy with what I see here.
Pradeep, can you, just to interrupt you a little bit, that font is actually quite small from what I'm seeing right here. Is it possible to zoom in on some of these sections?
Yes, absolutely. Does that look better?
A little bit more. There we go. Thanks.
Yeah, so as I keep scrolling through the automated analysis that Data Wrangler provides, I can look at the target distribution, the target column distribution. I can look at the quick model, understand the different features and their influence and the typical influence. Quick model is really a model that is quickly trained on a small subset of data. It tells you the different features and the characteristics of features and their influence on the outcome. And then I can look at all the feature details, trying to understand if there are any missing values or any of the data quality issues that I need to address in Data Wrangler. So I scroll down. As I scroll down,
this is all the work that would have taken weeks previously to using Data Wrangler, all reduced down into this nice interface. Okay.
Yeah, this takes a lot of data wrangling code, to actually mine these insights. So typically practitioners code and analyze the data, slice and dice the data, visualize the data. So different practitioners have different approaches. So all that is automated. So it's the click of a button, you get the insights.
Cool.
And as I scroll through, I find that there is a warning here. I see that there is a disguised missing value. So insulin, all the rows which have 0 value for insulin are actually a disguised missing value. So I need to address this. There's some other few other columns which have this. So if you look at the min value for skin thickness, it's 0. That means it's a disguised missing value. So this is the power of Data Wrangler. So it flags these quality issues, and then you can go back and address these quality issues. So I'm going to demonstrate that here.
Okay.
And without Data Wrangler, in a normal setting, how long would it take to identify that and then fix that?
It's hard unless you really are able to find that insights or mine that insight, right? So it all depends on the practitioner. If the practitioner finds that insight and is able to take care of it, it's very hard to find that disguised missing value, as the name suggests. Mm-hmm. So right now, so it all depends, right? So with Data Wrangler, it's right there. It actually flags all the quality issues, and then you go back to the flow and address those quality issues. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I can see how this makes the process a lot smoother, actually.
Sounds good. I'll go back to data flow, and I'm going to address that disguised missing value. So the way I'm going to address it is I'm going to add a transform. So I need to transform the data and refine the data to address those disguised missing values. So if you look at when I add the transform, it automatically infers the data types of the different features. And then I add a step. This step, actually, I'm going to search and edit. So there are several different transforms that Data Wrangler offers. There are 300 different variations of data wrangling transformations that Data Wrangler offers. And here I'm using regular expression replace, and I'm going to choose insulin, which is the column which was flagged for the disguised missing value. I also saw some disguised missing values in BMI, skin thickness, blood pressure, and glucose. So those are the columns where I saw the disguised missing values. So I'm going to replace them with the actual missing value. So if you see, there's the insulin. These were the disguised missing value. Now they're evidently showing up as missing values. So add this transform. Now that I am actually clearly seeing the missing values, I need to take care of these missing values. So I add a step again, and I handle these missing values. So by doing imputation. So I'm going to select the same columns that I selected: glucose, insulin, BMI, skin thickness, and blood pressure. So I'm going to select the same columns, and I'm going to impute these missing values and replace these values, these missing values that you see here, with a median.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to add this transformation. I preview the data. I'm pretty satisfied with what I see here. I am ready to train a model right now. I addressed all the quality issues that I saw in the Data Wrangler. So the way I train a model now is I click export and train. Or I can go back to the data flow and click the plus after the transforms and train a model. Both of these call to actions actually place me in the same next step. And if
so this is where we're entering into Autopilot now from within the same interface. We haven't got to go jump off to a different tool.
Correct, exactly. That's where the unification,
this is the
unified journey comes into play. Yeah. I hit export and train. I'm satisfied with the defaults, and then now I am actually placed in Autopilot. I'm ready to train a model. All I need to do here is just select the target column. My data is prepped. I don't need to worry about anything else. And I just push a button. I select the target column and I push a button. And that actually kicks off that rapid experimentation that I talked about, right? So there's many different experiments, 250 different trials that are run by default by Autopilot. And all those trials run different variations and combinations of algorithms, trying to find the best model that fits the data, and also tunes the best model. At the end of this process, what you get is a best model that is tuned. So I have an experiment. Rather than waiting for this experiment to finish, I have an experiment that I ran just before this session. So if you look at this experiment, it ran a bunch of different trials, and it actually surfaced the best model. I can actually look at the best model, understand the quality characteristics, explainability characteristics of this best model, look at the performance of this best model based on the validation data. And I'm pretty happy with what I see here. The receiver operating characteristics and the precision recall curve. These actually tell me how good the model is. So I'm pretty happy as a practitioner. I'm pretty happy with what I see here, and I'm now ready to deploy this model.
Right.
So I just click the deploy and go about my deployment.
Wow, that's great. That really does simplify that flow. I can imagine myself as a non-ML person diving into this and then experiment with this. This is really cool. Cool. Yeah. All right. Thank you for showing us that.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for that demo. Like Steve said, I look forward to jumping in. ML is not my strong suit, but this seems very accessible, and I'm really excited to see the data and insights that I can glean from it. So Claire, to wrap up, where should customers go to play around with Data Wrangler, to play around with Autopilot and all of the integrations that we got to see today?
Yeah, so this all lives within SageMaker Studio. So if customers visit the SageMaker Studio page, they can just click directly to the console from there, launch Studio, and then within Studio lives Data Wrangler, Autopilot, and also our other low-code, no-code products as well.
That's awesome.
Great. This is awesome. Well, Claire, Pradeep, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome having you on the show, and thanks for that great demo. And we will be right back. See you soon.